calico click clack. Now you in the cell wrecking on your six pack. Last week you had to send your lawyer 6 racks. Now you sending letters home trying to get your back. Now you in the joint making new decisions. Now you locked down joining new religions. Used to have the pot whipping in the kitchen. Used to couldn't tell. Now you wanna listen. 4 walls will break down the humble. And if you ain't strong, you'll crumble. So don't you fuck around, fall down and fumble. Don't let these animals show you it's a jungle. Look at what we got now. Look how they just stir you up, put you in the pot now. You ain't give a when you was on the block, and you ain't really give a if them kids got shot, did you? Now your whole family got an ante up. They done hit your aunties and your granny up. Everybody got a chip in for a lawyer. Where your homies at, they ain't did for ya. Just memories, negative energy. Only those kin to me came with the remedies. Now you upstate about to do a century. Wonder if the on the block still mention me. Cause y'all be hollering free my. What you gon' do when you get out? Y'all be hollering free my. But what he gon' do when he get out? Y'all be hollering free mod. What you gon' do when you get out? Y'all be hollering free mod. All the homies on the block hollering free you. But now one of these came to see you. Put some money on your books, try to feed you. One of them hollering at your girl trying to be you. It's f***ed up how these goons go switch. When y'all did the dirt, but you ain't never snitch. You never did the Kakashi to your bossy. It's on the block wearing your Versace. Now you sitting in the cell and they laughing on sales and they didn't raise hell. Middle of the cake, but you the last one to bail. When they took to jail, they ain't even raised bail. Well, now they say your name less every week. To one day you just old boy from up the street. Put you in the jungle where gorillas eat. Honey bun on your mattress, so now you sweet. Late night on deck where the mob's deep 3. Walking in your cell while the guards sleep. One of them got a shake and you saying please. And the other forcing you to your knees. And they ain't came to place where they ain't gay. But since you down there, you might as well go and pray. Dear God, please take it all away. They done gave me 50 years and this is just the first day. Cause y'all be hollering free, mod. What you gon' do when you get out? Y'all be hollering free, mod. But what he gon' do when you get out? Y'all be hollering free, mod. What you gon' do when you get out? Y'all be hollering free, mod. Look up at the sky. 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 Look up at the sky.
Welcome to the Jet Propulsion Lyrics Podcast. And we're chilling with Khanisto from out Argyle Gardens, right?
Yes, sir.
Hey, tonight we got another Argyle Gardens alumni. Mm-hmm. And we're gonna talk about hip hop because he's part of Chicago hip hop history.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So let's go back. You know, were you born and raised in Argyle?
Yes, I was. Matter of fact, I'm from Block 2.
Okay.
Which is on the main street. What they call it, the 3130s.
Okay.
And so I'm from 131st Street.
Okay.
Block 2, which is facing Block 4.
Okay.
And how I got into music was, you know, all of us, we grew up watching Soul Train.
Yeah. Yes.
And all of us got up and we wanted to be Michael Jackson or some variation of somebody famous.
Okay. Yeah.
But
yeah.
My Uncle Albert used to make us have the brooms and the brushes and and we would have to perform in front of grandmama and them all the time.
Okay.
But what really got me into music was one day my father was walking past my bedroom and I was doing this in front of the TV.
Uh-huh.
I was like 12 years old.
Okay.
And he was like, you got some long fingers like that boy Prince. You should learn how to play keyboards.
Okay.
I looked at him like, never thought of that, right? But because he was my father, I, you know, decided to go into it.
Yeah.
So, sorry. So, we go into the future, and my cousin Richard,
okay,
they were older than us. Like I was 13 and Richard was 16. And in the gardens, we used to have these things called sets, where it was like a party in somebody's house. Like somebody would give you their house and let you use it to throw parties, and they would empty out like the first floor.
Okay.
And all the bad kids would be up in there partying. Well, Prince had put out "Let's Go Crazy," and if you remember that single, the flip side was "Erotic City."
Right.
And so the radio stations was playing "Erotic City," but nobody knew where that song was. You know, they didn't. We used to go to Spoons in Roseland. Long story short, my cousin Richard came to me. He knew I had it.
Okay.
And he was like, "Let me borrow your 45, cuz." And I said, "You gotta let me go to the party with you." And he was like, "No, you too young. You're only 13 years old." I was like, "Man, I'm going." "Oh, you can't use my record." He took me to the party, and I saw the DJs and I saw the crowd, and I was really caught up. It was house music.
Okay.
But actually, it was prep before it was house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it was prep music actually.
Yeah.
It was prep music. So long story short, I had got a keyboard, and I learned how to play every record that was out.
Really?
Yeah. And so my boy Rod, my cousin. Let me go back. My cousin, we called him Black Knight. His DJ name was Black Knight.
Okay.
He had a Sensonics drum machine. Never seen a drum machine in my life.
Okay.
So I went over there with him, and he was showing me how to make a beat.
All right.
And then we got a couple of keyboards and synthesizers and stuff. And I learned how to play every record. So what my boy Rod would do is he would have me at the party, and he would play a record, and then I would play along to the record, and he would cut the record off. And the crowd was going crazy because they had never seen that before. Right?
Okay.
And I was like 14 years old. Young to be at the party, but I was actually at the parties with the bigger kids.
Playing. And you playing along
with it on a little keyboard.
Okay. And what did the drum machine do? Was the drum machine playing along with you, or
No, we didn't get to the drum machine for a couple of, maybe a year later. We got us a Dr. Rhythm Boss drum machine.
Okay.
Boss Dr. Rhythm drum machine.
Okay. So
I don't remember the number.
But at this time, you're 14 years old. You're in the parties playing.
Right.
Okay.
And so it just went from there. And I saw like you had guys like Devo G and we call them Black Mook. They were the first guys that I ever seen rap at a party, and they were gangsters. You know, we was 13 years old, 14, 15. But before that, you know, the high school in our community, Carver, had put out a hip-hop album called Get Live 83.
Okay.
And so that was an inspiration in the neighborhood. You know, we knew some celebrities. They was in Jet Magazine.
Yeah. And it was being played on the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were all on like the television and, you know, the interviews and the news shows and stuff like that. It was a big thing. I had a cousin named Gary Norman.
Okay.
And he was a member of a group called Special Touch from the West Side. And they put out a record in 81 called This Party's Just For You on Beckett Records.
Okay.
And to my knowledge, it's one of the first records in hip-hop history that has a male and female rapping against each other.
I didn't know.
I'm going to put you up on
it. Yeah. Yeah, that's something. Yeah. Okay.
And so getting back to the journey, so I had my little keyboard. I'm making house beats. You know, I ain't thinking about hip-hop like that. You know, because when Rapper's Delight came out, we sat down and we wrote every word down to the 10-minute version. And
I think that's one of the first rhymes that mostly everybody knew.
And then we got Curtis Blow, and then you know, then you had the Grandmaster Flash.
Yes,
those guys. But you know, I got family on the West Side, and we had guys that was set up in the parking lots of like a Jules or something like that that was closed for the night. And they would come out, they would have a whole big sound system, and everybody go out there and party. Okay. You know, so we didn't know that was hip hop at the time. You know, we just thought it was a block party.
And just groove into the music.
Right. And so it would be the dudes there, you know, spraying graffiti, and, you know, we didn't even do breaking then. They had this dance called the jerk. If you remember old Chicago and the robot and the Earl Flynn. The Earl Flynn went like this.
Yeah.
Right. So that show you how back we go. And
yes.
So like Eminem, them guys, they was making noise in the gardens and but I was doing house music.
Okay.
And my cousin Fruit and his boy TMC came to me one day. They was like, man, cuz, you cold, but man, it's a dude named Curtis Mantronics that's the beast. And they was like, man, you should make hip hop. And they was like, you need to listen to HBK and NUR.
Wow.
Right? I was 15.
Okay.
Right? So I started listening. And I made my first beat, like my first hip hop beat when I was 15.
Okay, so
for TMC.
So we talking about 85.
85, 86.
Okay.
And I got into the Beastie Boys and the Rick Rubin style of production.
Okay.
And Man Parrish.
Oh yeah.
Right? And Mantronics.
Yeah. Because they was more with the keyboards.
Right.
Okay.
And they weren't really using samplers back in those days that we knew of.
Right. They was more programming it on the keyboards, right?
Right.
Okay.
And then you had what was that record label? Ram's Horn?
Ram's Horn and what was it? Cutting Edge. What was
you talking about where they had Anaya Fish on there?
Yeah.
That's Cutting Records.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we was listening to that here.
You know your history.
We was listening to those.
And so what was funny is that I joined the military.
Okay.
And when I was in the military, I ran into some guys from New York and New Jersey. Mm-hmm. I was in Texas.
When did you join? What year was that you joined? I
joined in '88.
Okay.
Up until that point, I was just doing little beats, guys for the block, the guys in the neighborhood.
Okay.
I hadn't had no real name in the city like that.
Okay.
I was just, gaining and gaining, right?
Okay.
So I went to the military, and I never forget, I was at a party, at a club, and they played Don't Believe the Hype. And I was listening to them drums, the substitution drums,
okay,
right? Because everybody knew funky drummer, but substitution,
right?
Yeah. And so when I heard that, I was like, man, what James Brown record is that? It was funny as I didn't find out what record that was for years. But long story short, there was some guys from Jersey and some guys from New York, and they was rapping around the barracks. Mm-hmm. And one guy had a cool DJ Red Alert mixtape from New York. And I'm listening, and he kept scratching, last night had it all. Last night
had the ball.
Right. And so I was like, that's cold as hell. Like I really didn't, that was cold. Now, keep in mind, Chicago had way better DJs.
Yeah. So, let's go back though. Coming up in that era, because like 83, I was coming into high school.
Okay.
And so we was getting that influence. We was listening to like BMX.
Oh, yeah.
And hearing like Farley and Kenny Jason in them. How did that era of that DJ?
I say this.
How was that influence? What impact that had on you?
Oh, it had a whole bunch of impact on me. For the simple fact of my cousin Rich and this dude named Jack Master Rod, which was from the Gardens, Rodney Spruill.
Okay.
Him and my cousin Rich, they had a connection with the lady that owned Screaming Wheels in Gary.
Okay.
And so she let us become, I think it was the Friday night DJs.
Okay.
So every Friday night, all the kids from the Gardens would get on the school buses and fill Screaming Wheels up.
Okay.
And we was DJing. I wasn't really no real big DJ. They would let me play a record while they go use the bathroom.
Okay. So you got on for about
two or three songs, thinking I did something. But I I saw Julian Perez one time, and I saw him improvise a scratch because the needle broke on one of the turntables.
Okay.
And he had sent his boys outside to get a replacement cartridge.
Okay.
So he had to keep the time, because the record was almost over, and he couldn't just start the record over, so he just started transforming.
Okay.
But Farley was a big influence. Really all of house, because my cousin Richard used to take me, like the good times, and like I would catch the bus and go to Imports.
Yeah.
And Loop. What was the store inside the plaza?
It had what was it?
Rose Records.
Rose Records. So you would come from the Gardens to go all the way down to Imports.
It felt like I was going to Disneyland.
And because for people who missed that era of going into Imports, it was like a small,
right over there by Jones Commercial.
By Jones Commercial High School, and there's a small. It wasn't huge.
It wasn't no bigger than the garage or something like that, but it was nice
because it had all those records and stuff like that that you would hear on the radio, but you wouldn't get them at the neighborhood necessarily record store.
And Metro Music didn't have these records.
Yeah, and they would have you would walk in and they have records on the walls.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. So as a 15-year-old kid seeing this, that was like like I'm in that what would be like
in the presence of this greatness, this
movement. Across the velvet rope.
Right, there you go. And my cousin took me to, I never forget, my cousin took me to, I used to catch the bus by myself and go down to Imports and Loops. Or sometimes me and Rob would ride down there.
Yeah.
And my cousin took me to Good Times on 95th one time. And Chip, he was working there.
Okay.
And he was letting us hit his record. He had sampled a girl saying, "Ooh, baby." And he was triggering. He was showing us the samplers, right? Mm-hmm. And until that moment, I never knew a sampler existed.
Okay.
One thing about my cousin Richard, and I give him credit for this, he always nurtured my development. If I needed an instrument or something like that, he was going to hustle. He was going to get that instrument, right?
Okay.
That's why I always dedicate what I do to my cousin Richard. I always put his name in it. You know what I'm saying? Because he believed in me when didn't nobody else believe in me.
Okay.
So
he kept that fire burning.
Then he took me to remember Jimmy Polo that made
okay.
He used to live in Roseland, like on 119th and Perry or something like that, right?
Okay.
And my cousin was dating his sister.
Mm-hmm.
And he took me over there. I had never seen a 909 drum machine before.
Okay.
And I was like 16 or 17, and he was like, "You gotta have," because I had my little. We had a Casio CZ1, a little sampling keyboard, and I think I had a Yamaha keyboard, something small. And he was like, "You gotta have real keyboards to make real music. This is what we use." And he had a OB8, and he had an OB8, and he had a 909. Mm-hmm. So I never forget when I got my first check in the military, I went and bought me a Insonic SQ80.
Okay.
Which was a workstation.
So seeing these cats in the neighborhoods with these pieces of equipment that was making these records, that fueled that passion to step to the next level. Most
definitely, because you know what that is? To those of us that was 13 and 14, especially me seeing the stuff that I was seeing,
mm-hmm.
I thought house music meant music you could make in the house.
Okay.
Like the history of Peter Brown.
Mm-hmm.
He from Blue Island.
Okay. Yeah.
He made "Do You Want to Get Funky with Me"?
Exactly.
He made it in his house.
Yeah. Peter.
You feeling what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like that's what I thought house music was, like music you could make in the house. And if you remember, every week Farley or Kenny, Jam, and Jason, they would play a new song you ain't never heard before.
Yeah.
And so we was always trying to come up with beats and stuff that would set us apart. Because we was just some DJs of screaming wheels. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then Jesse Sanders put out On and On, and we discovered Jamie Principle and Larry Heard.
So, yeah, because Jamie Principle, when he put out Your Love, Baby Wanna Ride,
Waiting on My Angel. Yeah.
Hearing those records was like I don't know, for me, it grabbed me. because it was just like, this is so different.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then people was talking about, yeah, they made it on the 8-track, and
Exactly.
you know, and it's like, I gotta get me one. So, you know, we kids and we hearing these things, and that passion, it was like, it lit a fire. House music did light a fire.
Right.
You know, because Chicago at the time was really on that house music. It wasn't.
I mean, it was like Thugs was like, we finna throw up this gang sign, but we finna jack your body, though. You know?
Right, because Chicago had these different street organizations, but they would go to the parties and dance, and you know, and they're being there with different.
I mean, me being in a little, like the Gardens was a microcosm of society. Like you had everything in the Gardens. You had GDs, Vice Lords, Force, BDs. You had everything except Latin Kings.
Okay.
And you talking about guys that would shoot at each other on the block. But when we went to Screaming Wills, we was all one.
Okay.
Like if you mess with somebody from any matter what gang they was in, you gonna have to deal with everybody. And I think that was the same with house music. When they went to them parties, they didn't go to fight. Like now, you know, these young cats now, it's like, did you come here to shoot somebody or did you come here to party?
Right. But then, back then, people would go to the parties.
To party. I respect and I love DJs because I was part of the DJ culture when I was younger. DJs have the power over life and death and they don't realize it.
Yes.
You know, when we was coming up, like when Rodney was teaching me, and Black Knight and Daddy Rich and them, they was teaching me, they used to tell me, good DJs play records. Great DJs play the crowd. And they would show me how you have to look and you have to recognize what's going on in the crowd. And it was no set list.
Okay.
You had to adjust to what was going on.
Yeah.
If there was too much rowdiness going on, throw in a slow song. If you had to, throw in a gospel song. You know, bring the meter down.
Yeah.
If you go to a party now, they don't even play slow songs. So they got you charged from the moment you walk in to the moment you go to the parking lot. You on 10.
Yeah.
You ain't hollering at no girls. You came with your boys. Y'all sitting in a circle.
And, you know, and the liquid fuel is in you. The smoke is in you. And if you on the pills is in you.
And because you ain't had no chance to holler at no girls, you feel like you got to perform for them outside.
Yeah. And it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. So getting back to when I was in the military, so I heard to me when I was listening to the Red Alert mixtapes, and then they came with the Kid Capri mixtapes.
Okay.
Like hip hop opening itself up to me. Now, keep in mind, when you in a military town, they play music from all regions because everybody is from all regions. So we would hear go-go, we would hear Florida bass, we would hear West Coast like Rodney Ojo Cooley.
Okay.
We would hear New York. And we would hear Chicago, but it was always house, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Which is funny because a lot of people don't realize that one of the first house records, Funk You Up, by Jesse Sanders, was a rap record.
Yeah. If you listen to
The vocal version.
Yeah.
Same thing with what's the other one? It's Music is the Key. Music is the key to set yourself free. The violence, drugs, and increase the poverty. That was a rap record.
It was disco, like a disco rap record.
Yeah, because think about it, hip hop come from disco.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, and that song, I'm the DJ, I play what I want.
All of them was they had hip hop. They had rap elements in it because it was crossing. I mean, that was a time in New York where you couldn't put out an album without at least one house record on it.
Yeah. Yep, you had to have that. Yeah. Especially in the mid to early 90s.
Think about it. The Jungle Brother came out with Our House You.
Girl, Our House.
Which sampled Move Your Body. Then you had Queen Latifah, Come Into My House.
Yes.
Light, I Am Light as a Rock.
Yep.
You had a whole bunch of house records that people tend to forget now.
And that we were dancing to here.
I mean, Madonna made Vogue, which if you listen to it, Vogue, she raps in Vogue. Ladies that were in the mood, brothers get into the groove. That she was rapping.
Yes, indeed.
You know, so hip hop is a multi-genre influence.
Yeah, it takes in everything. So, you in Texas in the military, right?
Right, Fort Hood, Texas.
And for people who don't know the history of Fort Hood, after you listen to this, go and research Fort Hood. Because that says a lot about, this music being played there.
Yeah.
And it's bringing people together. So, what year we talking?
88 to 92.
88 to 92. So, you getting that, when a Public Enemy.
Oh, yeah. Ooh.
Boogie Down Productions. Wise, Intelligent, Poor Righteous Teachers. King's Son.
Lakeem Shabazz.
Latifah. Jungle Brothers.
You got
Ice-T.
NWA.
Excuse me.
Because what's funny is the way you label things, and if you could label something, you could define it, and you could make the world go along with your definition, even though that's not what it was. When NWA first came out, they was not gangster rappers; it was reality rap.
And even if you listen to the first stuff they put out, it was more. It had a lot of comical edge to it. Even though they was talking street stuff, it wasn't. It didn't get that viciousness until later. When they first came out, they had a little comic.
Yeah, they had a techno record on that album.
They had a techno record, but even when they was talking about the street stuff, it wasn't like...
It was a joke.
It was a joke. It wasn't...
It was like Blowfly.
Yeah. It flowed right into whatever else was coming in with Schoolie D.
Yeah. Cool C.
Steady B. Luke.
Yeah.
And then you had the Ghetto Boys coming up.
You know what's funny? As I heard the Ghetto Boys for the first time, I'll never forget. I was in the desert. We was in Saudi Arabia, and they took me to another unit. I was a medic, so they took us to this unit where it was a bunch of girls at.
Okay.
So we was going to go pick up some people to train them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the girls was listening to Willie D.
Oh yeah.
She was bumping it, right? And then they came with. Then the other girl said, "Girl, play that other cassette." And she put on the Ghetto Boys' first one, the Do It Like a Geo.
Yeah.
Then she put on the Gangsta Love and Mr. Scarface, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" Because it wasn't polished like NWA was. It was like I'm in the back of the room making the record, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I feel like stealing this cassette from her. Because that's how I do. Right. Because I'm going to tell you what I took with me to the desert.
Okay.
I swear to God. The 3 cassettes that I kept with me all through the desert, that I said, you better not lose these 3 cassettes.
Okay.
It was the Jackson 5's Get It Together album.
Okay.
Which had Dancing Machine and the original version of Dancing Machine.
Yeah.
I took the Beatles Magical Mystery Tour with me.
Oh, okay.
I Am the Walrus.
Okay.
Strawberry Fields Forever and all that. And I took Ultramagnetic Critical Beatdown.
You know what? You're a brother for life, man. You my brother for life. He said Ultramagnetic. Oh, okay.
I mean, Kool Keith and Said G. Oh my goodness.
Oh man.
You talking about people that influence you? Said G influenced Dr. Dre.
Exactly. I thought we was gonna be. You know what? This might turn into a 4-hour interview. Okay, but you in Texas, how did you get? Because for people don't understand,
Right.
And I remember
But if you knew me back then, I listened to Led Zeppelin and Kraftwerk.
Okay.
Also.
Yes.
But I love Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
Motown really, and I love South Soul.
Mm-hmm.
I just love music, man, because we was DJs and we would have to go record hunting. And it's a different appreciation because you have to listen to records for real.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at is that as we talking, your whole music world is filled with different.
Yeah, I have an eclectic ear, man. It's like for so many years, I'm still a Portishead fan.
Okay.
You know, Portishead is, oh my God, man. If you want to hear some hip hop from 1960 that you think is from 1960, you know, Portishead sound like it's from a St. James Brown soundtrack.
And that's what, like, you know, growing up in my household, my father had those different records, the Jimi Hendrix, along with Steppenwolf and REO Speedwagon.
Oh, yeah.
And
ELO.
James Brown and all of that stuff. You know, oh man.
Like every now and then I have to listen to Showdown from ELO. I have to listen to Leonard Skinner. Every now and then, you know, just little stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then I go back to, like even the history of hip hop, like a lot of hip hop history is not what they say it is.
Yeah.
But like I said, when you name something, you can give it its attributes, and people have to follow along with that if they follow along with the name that you gave it. A lot of hip hop, what we consider hip hop, started in Chicago with Chess Records.
Okay.
A lot of break beats, like, you know, they'll say, well, James Brown is the king. James Brown is the first MC.
Yes, indeed.
And he traveled with two bands, and he played them like a DJ do a turntable. If you go look at some of the footage, he would have one band, they would hit one note, and the next band would start the next note. A whole different record. And he would go back and forth with them.
Keep the party going.
But with Chicago, the first official, like, released hip rap release was Here Comes the Judge by Pygmy Markham, and that was recorded in Chicago.
Here Comes the Judge.
On Chess Records.
Yes, indeed.
You had, I give you an example. Not to diminish anybody in hip hop, and I love hip hop, and I love the history of hip hop. But where do you think scratching come from?
I don't know. Manipulating the sound.
Now, do you believe a 13-year-old that nobody ever heard of before invented it?
Nah. I think that's the how they say that's the
New York version.
That's the mythology of the history.
Every successful music act has a mythology.
Yes. Every
successful music act.
That's the story we sell. That's the face. That's the face of it, but behind it is something else.
You're over here, right by the lake. I ain't gonna get your address out, but you're over here by the lake, right?
Yeah.
5 blocks down the street, you ain't never know that it's O Block until the mythology started being made up.
Yes.
And I'm not dissing nobody. I'm just talking about how things become those things.
Yes, the myth becomes the
reality.
The reality, and it's the because humans love storytelling.
Yeah.
They love storytelling, and as long as you tell a good story, people will carry that story on.
As long as they don't have to investigate it.
As long as they're entertained.
There you go. I mean, think about scratching, for example, right? If you go back to what they first called scratching, before they called it scratching, it tells you where it comes from. They called it cutting.
Cutting.
Now, what is cutting? In the 60s and the 70s, you had engineers who edited records.
Cutting the record.
And they would take the reels and they would do like this over the head.
Yeah.
And it would be a scratch. It would like till they found the transient.
Yeah.
And then they would make the slice. They would make a crossfade. And put the records together.
Yes.
That was most records back in them days had edited on the back of the record. Edited back. Remember I just said Dancing Machine? I said the original version?
Yeah.
That's because the original version is 5 minutes long. The one everybody know is 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
Because they edit it down.
Yeah. Because even the tape machines had a slot in there where you would make the cut.
Thank you. And we was pause mixes. Remember most of us was pause mixes coming up?
Yeah.
Same concept.
Yeah. Because if you had a reel, it had a spot on there where you had where you could make your slice.
Your slice. Now you understand what I'm saying about the mythology of it all? Oh, I give you another mythology. Do you really believe a group of rappers from New York flew all the way to California to hear a beat that they couldn't hear over the phone, and then rejected the beat and went back to New York for some producers they never heard of before in New York? And that song turned out to be Boys in the Hood?
No.
Think about it.
Nah, cuz.
Do that.
Nah, that don't.
Hold up. This is the best part about that story. Supposedly that happened in 1986, right? Mm-hmm. It's 2023, right? Mm-hmm. Where is that group? How come nobody has ever came forward and said, yeah, I was one of the guys that turned down Boys in the Hood?
Exactly. And
how can the FBI give you a letter about a record that's not even out yet?
that the mythology sells the product.
Right.
You know, and you know, even like with this Shure mic, it's a mythology that sells this mic.
Oh, Michael Jackson recorded Thriller with an SM7.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Shure mic starts selling everywhere.
Because I want to sound like Michael Jackson.
Thank you.
And you know, like now, you know, they sell producer packs for your drum machine, your samplers, so you can sound like Premiere. So you can
Kanye
sound
beats, Kanye snares.
I got the Kanye type beat. I got the Jay Dilla type beat. So yeah, so that whole thing of the scratching and cutting makes sense, you know. So give us a little, drop us a couple of more gems, and then we're gonna move a little bit forward.
Okay.
Because we need to educate the people.
This is the one that's gonna hurt a lot of feelings, and I don't care, but this gonna hurt a lot of feelings. Mm-hmm. So in the 1950s, the 40s, well, actually, the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, all the way up until recently, the biggest continuous DJ in Chicago was Herb Kent. Mm-hmm. So we do know that Motown would bring records to VON and let them break them. Okay. And if it wasn't a hit for VON, you know, got to remember Don Cornelius, Purvis Spann, all them guys worked there. Them real DJs. Mm-hmm. If it didn't break in Chicago, they wouldn't put it out nationwide because we was the test market besides Detroit. Mm-hmm. This is acknowledged history. Well, a lot of guys, including Herb Kent, would tell you that a group of Jamaicans came to Chicago in the 60s because they were trying to sound like the Impressions. Mm-hmm. Bob Marley and them and all of them guys came to Chicago. Yeah. If you go listen to early reggae, it was Chicago soul. Yeah. Am I lying?
You ain't lying. You are not. And I had that discussion with my wife.
Now, Herb Kent has actually told me this before he died. As far as a group of Jamaicans came to Chicago. Well, think about this. I just told you we was having sets in Chicago when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And they was doing it before even then. Mm-hmm. If I asked you to pull out a plugger right now from a random party, you ain't gonna be able to do it. Mm-hmm. It had to be a party that was special to you. Yeah. Right? Yeah. How come we've seen 100 copies of Kool Herc's plugger from what was basically a basic party in a city of 10 million people? Yeah. 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 But if I tell you that Herb Kent was the biggest DJ in the United States because VON was a nationwide carrier. Yeah. Yeah. Now, do you know what Herb Kent's nicknames were as a DJ?
No, I don't. I'm not.
Herbie Baby.
Yeah, Herbie Baby. Herbie Baby.
Herb Kent, the cool gent.
Cool, yeah, the cool gent.
And Cool Herb. In the 60s, not in the 80s and 90s, in the 60s.
So, somebody in New York heard Cool Herb.
Some neighborhood DJ that nobody know.
And dropped the B and added the C.
There you go. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying circumstances. How they say circumstantial evidence leads us to this conclusion.
Yeah, because I got another one that people get mad at me about, but I think Biggie had a ghostwriter.
Oh yeah,
And I think the ghostwriter was Big Daddy Kane at one point.
or Chubb Rock.
Or Chubb Rock. Because I hear a lot of Kane in that early stuff. And Mr. C happened to find.
And Clark Kent.
Right. And so I think, and a lot of the stuff was too polished when it came. You know what I mean?
We would probably be surprised to find out that we would probably. I don't want to say this out loud. Please don't let this part air. I'm saying it right here.
Okay.
Don't let this part air. Click. Let me say this about Big Daddy Kane. Let me say this about Big Daddy Kane, bro. Rakim is the god. Mm-hmm. Rakim is the god. You can't ain't that look. Rakim is the god. KRS is the energy.
Yeah.
Cool G is the street.
Mm-hmm.
Cube is the hood.
Yeah.
Ice-T is the player.
Yeah.
These are all the personas of hip hop. Mm-hmm. Kane made up more styles than anybody.
Yeah.
Like E40 made up slang.
Yeah.
Kane made. Go listen to Kane. Go listen to Kane, man. Come on. King Asiatic, nobody's equal, and he meant it. Like I said, Ultramagnetic was with me. When I first heard them horns on Feeling It, man, that okay. The way he rapped, I mean, like Ego Tripping. He was the first rapper I ever heard that rapped the beat's cadence.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, let's talk about that. You in the desert, you listen to Ultramagnetic, you on that cassette. And on that cassette, it's some cuts on there. And Keith, on one of the tracks, you can hear like Sedg's production.
Right.
And the changes inside the beat is like crazy. If you just sit and get you some good headphones and just sit and listen. Dun, 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 and just how he staged the beats and the horns.
Man.
I haven't, the closest person who might have came to that is Dre.
I said, he influenced Dre. I believe.
So, but Dre doesn't have that Said G technique. You know what I mean? Because certain things are just your own.
Right.
That are baked into you. And, around that time, 88, just that fact that, those horns. The horns that how he even used that James Brown break.
The drums on, remember the drums on Feeling It? Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Where'd you get them drums from? Like, I didn't listen to every record. Where the hell did you get them drums from? But the thing about them is, and I'm going to say this about hip hop, Said G produced for one act at a time. Mm-hmm. He wasn't like Molly. Like Molly just made a Molly beat and you had to rap to it.
Right.
Said G, the beats that he made for BDP wouldn't have worked for Ultramagnetic. Because Ultramagnetic, they were scientists. They was on that Dr. Seuss. Dr. Octagon before Dr. Octagon, right?
Yeah.
The thing about that is that even with Dr. Dre to me is the best in history because he could tailor a beat to that act. Mm-hmm. It's a Dre beat.
Right.
But like it's funky enough. It wouldn't work with Eazy-E's voice.
No.
That would have never worked with Eazy-E's voice.
You got a chance to sit somewhere. You just got those 3 tapes. Mm-hmm. You analyzed.
I'm gonna tell you what really caught my man. I had time to sit back and I'd be in the middle of the desert, man. And what's crazy is how you get used to bombs going off. Okay. And we be sitting there and you boom, 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 and you can see. Like, have you ever been to the desert? Yeah. So at nighttime you can see the whole sky straight ahead on the horizon. Like you're looking out here on the water. Yeah. You can see stars. Yeah. You remember them nights when you hear all them bombs and you would just see the sky light up? Yeah. And you wouldn't even think about it. After a certain amount of time, you just okay, yeah, man.
It's normal.
You write your mama today. So the thing about the Jackson 5, that Get It Together album, is it taught me how to sequence records on the album. Okay. Because if you ever listen to that album, it was one of them albums that it was a continuous play. Like the songs bled into each other.
Yeah.
And then just cut off, and then another song came on. When this record went off, another one was coming in.
And it flowed into that.
It flowed so cool. Like them horns that MC Light used on what record was just the horns say da-na-na-na. What record is that? Is it I Cram to Understand You? It's one of them records. But she used them horns, and those is at the end of this record called You Need Love Like I Do by the Jackson 5. And that's right before Dancing Machine come on.
Okay.
And they fade the Dancing Machine out and you just hear the horns.
Okay.
And then on the Beatles album, they got this song called Strawberry Fields Forever, man. And at the end of the song, they flip the drums backwards. And the drums start. This is 1966. And the record, if you think I'm lying, go look it up. We can stop this interview right now, and you can play it, and you can come back, and we can keep talking. But the drums flip backwards.
Okay.
For the last minute and a half of the record.
Wow.
Right? Matter of fact, through the record, it's a part of the record where the drums just flip in the middle of a verse. Mm-hmm. Right? No, in the middle of a hook. Mm-hmm. They be like, let me take you down, 'cause I'm going. And it was on beat, and I was like, I thought Atomic Dog was the first record to do that.
So this is before Atomic Dog.
This is in 1966.
Before Prince did the backwards thing with the vocals. So this is on 1966. The Beatles did this. Mm-hmm. Strawberry
Fields Forever.
Okay.
Matter of fact, the Beatles got a record called Tomorrow Never Knows, which is on the I want to say the Rubber Soul album, or Revolver. Rubber Soul. It's on one of their black albums when they was making black music.
Okay.
Like they made Got to Get You Into My Life and all that stuff. And they got a record called Tomorrow Never Knows, and I promise you to this day, they made this record in 1966.
Okay.
It sounds like they made it in 2029. Huh. It's so far ahead because it's all samples. It's some drums. What's his name? Ringo Starr going crazy on some drums. Paul going crazy on the bass. All the rest of the instruments is samples. Because they had a Mellotron. Hold up. If you know anything about the Mellotron, it was a sampler. Right? And Paul was making his own samples in 1966.
And they just put the Mellotron into the MPC.
See? So, yeah. So, and then, if you know anything about Ultranetic, you know about Paul C.
Yes.
Paul C. was an engineer's engineer.
And I would say this is that when Paul C. died, New York hip-hop went into a tailspin.
Yeah, because you had Large Pro, all them cats that depended on him.
Yeah, Eric B. and Rakim was using them. And I think his death affected the New York sound.
Oh, can you imagine if he would have engineered Step Into the Arena?
Ooh.
I mean, as great as that album was,
it'd have been.
You feeling what I'm saying?
Yeah, it'd have been. It would have been, even if he would have did into the 36 chambers.
Oh, if he'd have did 36 chambers, but 36 chambers was good for what it was.
Right. It was, but I'm saying is
but
that
if Paul C would have engineered, oh my goodness.
Because, like, we go back to even like Ultramagnetic's chorus line, the first one, just how the drums hit and how everything sits into the track. And nowadays, we praise producers and stuff like that, but you had to have that engineer also with you on that path.
What do you think Dr. Dre is? People think Dr. Dre is a producer. Dr. Dre is an engineer.
Yeah, because they hearing these things and bringing them and pushing things to the back and bringing things halfway. And, cause sonically, this is my biggest peeve with with the newer generation is that sonically their music is not there.
Because they never heard high fidelity music.
And
they've only been listening to MP3s for the last 30 years, 20 years, really.
Yeah, so you listening to a Beatles. As you say, you're hearing these things that they're doing with these,
Real dynamics.
you know, and the engineering, and they're doing it with less technology that we have now, and being creative with what they're doing, you know. And so you sitting there listening to this, and it's like, oh man. So you get back to the States.
Man, when I got back to the States, bro, I'm gonna tell you what happened. I was super focused on, because I had taken all these notes, these mental notes, listening to these. I mean, I had other cassettes, but these three stayed. These was my prized possession.
Okay.
I listened. I studied them.
Okay.
And when I got back to the States, my cousin Rich had a EPS, a sampler. So I brought the SQ80 to Chicago, gave it to him, and took the EPS back to Texas with me.
Okay.
Like, I need to learn how to sample. Because it was a line on Kool Keith when he say, I bought a band. Sam is on trombone. He blowing hard. Back to back notes get with it. And I thought they had a band. Like, these, I got a band. But then I recognized Funky Drummer. I said, no, that ain't no band. Then I found out it was a sample. And I bought the Funky. You ran out of time?
No, we got.
I bought James Brown's Funky People. And then I started buying drink. You know, my mom and them listened to James Brown and all that. And I remember they put out that box set. What was the James Brown box set? Mr. Dynamite. It had all of his songs on it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And it had Funky Drummer on there.
Okay.
Oh no, In the Jungle Groove. That's what it was.
In the Jungle Groove.
In the Jungle Groove, and it had the remix of "Give It Up, Turn It Loose" that hip hop is based on.
Yeah,
right?
that's one of those records that Flash always talk about.
Yeah, and so matter of fact, on that Jackson 5 album is a record called "Hum Along and Dance." If you ask any hip hopper from the original days, that was the party. That was the party joint.
Okay.
It's a 10-minute instrumental with Michael and them just talking smack over the record. They might sing a few words. And it's like boom, 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 boom. It's got a break beat and all that kind of stuff in it.
Okay. So he just gave y'all a gem.
I mean, even if you go to Chicago's influence. I mean, I don't want to hate nobody because I don't. But Chicago's influence of hip hop is like this too. Soul Train comes from Chicago.
Yes.
Go if you ever look at the earliest episodes of Soul Train, they used to have a dance contest every episode. One of the big dances back then was the get down, the breakdown, and the not the Earl Flynn, but the Jesus, I just had it in my mind. The jerk, the cool jerk.
Oh yeah.
The cool jerk was a dance where you made a move and you stopped. Like this. You made a move and you stopped, right? So,
yeah.
Right. If you go look at Soul Train, go look at Coolie High. When they go into the restaurant and the guy's dancing, he's doing the cool jerk. It's a move where you swing your arm like it's like the WAP, but you stop.
You stop.
Stop.
Yeah.
So Shabba-Doo and them took all of that knowledge to California. And what's his name? Earl Campbell came up with the lock.
Okay.
And Soul Train used to loop breaks of records for the Soul Train line in Chicago. I'm just saying.
First loops.
Right. And if you remember Bob Wall, from Bob Wall was on GCI BMX.
Bob Wall.
GCI.
Legendary.
Him and Herb Kingdom, if you remember when we was kids, they would start a record and they would rap on the record until the singer started singing.
Yeah, they did have some. Yeah, okay.
They would say some poetry about what it was going to be that week.
And then
the record would come on. So, long story short,
man,
Chicago had a lot of the elements of hip hop before they called it hip hop. I say that.
Yeah, because like you say, with the cool jerk, you stop. In breakdancing, they came to freeze.
Thank you.
You know, so you would do the move and then you'll freeze.
That's why Chicago was so good. Chicago adapted to hip hop so good. Chicago is in parts of Chicago is more true to hip hop than anybody else. I ain't gonna say no other cities, but
yeah,
it's because it was already here.
Yeah, it was.
It just didn't have the name.
It was sitting right below the surface. It was there. It was, just when it sprouted. So you coming out of the desert. You coming back to Texas. You got the sampler. What you doing with it?
So I'm just in the barracks making beats, trying to learn my craft, and then they drop the Humpty Dance and do what you like. And we talk about Dre and all them, but Shock G was a genius. Shock G was the first one to really take them funkadelic samples and freak them properly.
Yeah, and made them his own.
Yeah.
Made him his own.
And then you had Eric Sermon that came with that East Coast funk that was just funk. And so I was sampling and just learning. I was shopping, and they had record stores in town that had like a lot of old records, and they would order records for you.
Okay.
It was a record store in New York called, was it Downtown Records?
Yeah, it's a Downtown
and
Records.
And you could order records from them from the record store. Long story short, I started making beats, and so I was making beats for like little guys, I'm not to say little guys, little beats for guys back then. But it was just buddies I was in the military with. Just, man, rap on this beat, try this beat out. And we'd go to the club and, we knew the DJ, man, play this, let's see what the crowd, but we ain't make no hits. I ain't finna go back and sue nobody. So, but what happened was I did my time. I came back to Chicago.
So what did you come back to?
I'm finna show you what my cousin Richard did. My cousin, when I first came back, the first week I was back, he said, "Bam, I got somebody I want you to meet, man." And he called, man, and I think you and him would be cold together with some beats. Because Richard was like, "What you been working on, cuz?" And I let Richard hear like 30 beats that I had made. Right?
Okay.
He was like, "Yeah, you ready, man? Let me hook you up with one guy." And it was this rapper named D.A. Smart.
Okay. Whoa.
So me and D.A., it was me, D.A., Bigfoot, Rich, and Rock. We was a group, and the name of the group was D.A. Smart.
Okay.
Right, but it was really, we was his support.
Okay.
And then, so you got to think about it. In those days, you had guys like Villain, Rhythm, Cooley.
Yeah.
Am I missing somebody? You had. I'm talking about as far as production goes.
Right. Yeah.
You had Doug Inf. You had No ID. You had heavy hitters. You know what I'm saying? Traxter, K-Tone.
Okay.
Them kinds of guys. So when I came back, it was about what can I bring to DA? That's because when I first heard him rap, I was like, man, this dude is powerful.
Okay.
And what he was saying, it was like he was militant.
Mm-hmm.
He sounded like LL, but if LL was in the Nation of Islam.
Okay.
So I was like, man, what can I do? So I just started researching Public Enemy beats. Like, how would they approach it? How would the Bomb Squad approach it?
Yeah.
Because he need that kind of. But then I thought about it. I said, no, let me give him some gangster beats too.
Okay.
Chicago is full of gangsters.
Yeah.
So me and him worked together for a couple of years. We got to deal with RCA.
Okay.
And we did a single with RCA that they never put out, but I was working with Eric Sadler, who was in the Bomb Squad.
Okay.
Right? And I don't know if you know this guy from New York called Epitome, Epitome.
Nah.
He was one of Eric's co-producers.
Okay.
And they took two songs that I produced and they added a sample.
Okay.
And they got the production credit, and I was going to get co-production, which was cool because I was a nobody. But just being out there, man, and just being validated and having them guys like, man, Joe, they didn't say Joe, but they were like, man, dude, because they was laughing at me because I showed up with an EPS.
Okay.
Like, oh, he came with an EPS and an SQ80. What you going to do with that? And I had a real tambourine and some real shakers. They laughing at me until we finished the song, and it was like, how'd you get all that up in there, dude? And they was like, damn, dude, you cold, right? Man, take our number down, come back to New York. And they took us around. And so after that, me and DA kind of drifted apart because it was some it was some internal stuff that was going on.
Okay.
And you had me, Ville. Ville put out an album. Ville was, I don't know, you know Villain, don't you? Mm-hmm. So Villain was more polished than the most of us. Him and Rhythm was like the most polished ones in Trackster.
Okay.
And Cooley, where they could put a record out tomorrow.
Yeah.
And Villain could rap as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when we would do shows at like the Avalon, the Lynx, South Shore community, what you call it?
Cultural Center?
Cultural Center, yeah. Mr. Burnside, all kinds of places, right?
Okay.
And we would do these shows, man, and I would watch the crowd and learn what they like, as I did when we was DJs. And so Villain had me do 2 songs on his album. Point of note. Mm-hmm. Me and Villain did 2 songs on his album, and one of the songs I did was called Malfunction.
Okay.
We didn't realize it, but at that time, I made what will become a Steppers beat. But it was just a cool out beat to me.
Okay.
And he rapped in a mellow tone. It wasn't like his normal songs. Mm-hmm. He rapped in a mellow tone, and we had a group of singers called Franchise, and they came and they did the hook.
Okay.
So what was funny is that song, the label that he was on, got that song remixed, and you ain't gonna believe who remixed the song.
Who?
Heard 'em Bad.
Yeah.
Heard 'em Bad that did the most of the Machiavelli album. Mm-hmm. That you ain't heard really too much from.
Okay.
And he did the remix on that, which I thought that was stellar, because he did a damn good remix.
Uh-huh.
So long story short, after that, I drifted a little bit. I started working on stuff, just me, Rhythm, and Villain would be hanging. But me and Rhythm was real, because me and Rhythm is like, all of us are best friends, but me and Rhythm are like brothers.
Okay.
And so I ran into Ten Trey, and I was working on their second album.
Okay.
And one of the members of Ten Trey name was Johnny.
Okay.
And we call him Prod. So he came to me one day, he said, man, man, we need to start a group, man. He said, I got my guys in the Honeys, man, and man, we need you to join, man. We a crew, but you add to it. It's a bunch of people that's been in other groups that was disaffected by the game. Okay. So we had Impact from OCU, Packy.
OCU, oh man, okay.
We had Ren 1010 and Excel Airborne from To the Hard Way. Okay. We had Terradon.
Yes, indeed.
We had Polo, which is Excel's brother. We had Ren 1010. We had ETM. We had Nino Brown. All of these cats, and these cats were elites. Okay. You understand what I'm saying? When they talk about Chicago hip hop, they don't really mention the Gov, or they don't mention the Gov members. Mm-hmm. But for a period in time, the Gov really was making a lot of noise in the city.
Yes, indeed. So how did the name the Gov come about?
From what I understand, because it preceded me joining, but from what I understand, I wish Turk was sitting here. Okay. Turk and his boy Will. Okay. Started the Gov. Mm-hmm. And it was just the two of them at first, and they was making beats for cats in the hood, if I'm remembering it right. And Turk is a rapper. Turk is an elite rapper. Like, Turk is one of them rappers that other rappers try to remember his lines. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And so they started the Gov on 103rd. So did it have a meaning? It was called a Guided Undervisions. Okay. And it was supposed to be like a I want to say like a Poor Righteous Teachers type of situation where they was rapping knowledge, but it was gangster knowledge. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you had, I'm going to count down the members because I got to get it right. You had Terradon, Packy, Prod, Excel Airborne, Nino Brown, Polo, Ren, ETM, and myself. Okay. So it's 10 members, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's 9 members. I just counted out 9 members. It's 9 members, right? Okay. And didn't nobody rap like the other one. Mm-hmm. Me and Turk made beats. I made beats. Turk beats is on another level. Mine is over here. Okay. Right? And we made a couple of albums. did shows in every place in Chicago that you could think of to do a show. And everywhere we went, we excelled.
Okay.
And I remember one time we did the show with Chud, man. I remember that night, man. Because Brainstorm and Turk was two light-skinned niggas with green eyes.
Okay.
And Brainstorm wanted to battle Turk, like, man, I want to battle you, man. And I was like, nah, them niggas too close to each other. We might destroy the universe. Because Brainstorm could rap his ass off.
Okay.
Right?
So were all the members in the Gov from 103rd? Were y'all from the Gardens, or was it just
me and Nino was from the Gardens.
Okay.
Sal and Polo was from all of them from 103rd, but Sal and Polo was from I think London Town too.
Okay.
Not London Town, but the Manor. They was from the Manor.
So all these neighborhoods existing in this group, and then wait a minute. So how did the battle turn out?
They didn't battle.
Oh, they didn't battle.
Because we were like, nah, we ain't here for that. We ain't here for that. Because they was both ready. It was like two pit bulls. And we were like, nah, come on back here.
So, Eclipse alluded to how y'all came and supported. So how was y'all following? How was y'all?
Let me say this about Chud music, man. And then I'm going to talk about the Gov, too. Chud was one of the most impressive groups that I've encountered in Chicago, because they didn't wait for the game to be brought to them. They brought their own ball. They brought their own court.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They had their own situation. Like, this is our place. We got our own sound system. This is our place, and you come in here and you can rock with us. And we ain't got to go to this place and kiss that person's ass, and we only got 5 minutes. If you want to rock for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, if you got the material, do it. And it was no rules. They had more than one room where they was doing stuff. Like, you being here performing, and they got a whole studio around the corner.
Okay.
I mean, they had it. It was real. You know what I'm saying? It was like when you know how back in the day when people used to have them little lofts on Canal Street?
Yeah.
They had, but it was serious though. You know what I'm saying? As far as the Gov, man, let me show you. The Gov was so deep in it that we was about to get signed to Face. If you go look at Ludacris' first interview in the Source, he mentioned us because he say, we about to sign this group called The Government. It was us.
Okay.
We were supposed to be on Def Jam South.
Okay.
I mean, we did Sam Silk's theme song, Tony Schofield's theme song.
Okay.
We did Don Juan's birthday parties. We, like I said, every place. We had a show on Channel 19, Gov TV.
Okay.
We was making noise, man. We had the comedians, like, we used to be on the warehouse on 103rd.
Okay.
And all the comedians came there, to get their big start, know. So we was tight with all the comedians, man, and they would have us open their shows, or sometimes we would, ride with them and go out of town with like Schofield and them, and it just, the time went on. It wasn't no bad blood or no bad situation. Just sometimes you look up and it's tomorrow.
Yes, indeed.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, indeed. Because I remember meeting y'all coming down at HPK.
Yeah, we came down there a couple of times.
Yeah, and we throw on a track and whoever want to rhyme. Cause like I try to explain to people, like, HPK, is a small space, but the library in the back was a little bit bigger, and that was a gladiator school because you had MCs.
It was real hip hop.
And,
yeah.
And and that mic magnetized people as Rock MC,
Man, oh yeah, I got to thank you all, man, for putting us on that shirt, bro.
Oh yes, but see, that's the whole thing is that I was sitting here and I'm like, man, we gotta honor the people who made, basically made the station to support,
Gotta have it, yeah. That's matter of fact, Doc Maninoff, him and Eclipse, they from the Gardens too,
right?
And matter of fact, Doc Maninoff was one of those cats that I grew up with, and he went to another high school.
Okay.
And I didn't see him for years. And I look up and he's one of the premier rappers in Chicago.
Yes.
I'm talking about his name is known. It ain't just like, you ever heard of Doc? No, it was like, man, Doc Maninoff, like, you supposed to know who he was.
Right.
Like even going back to D.A. Smart, man, D.A. used to take us to Fuller Park and with Cassius D and Crunch
Okay.
and them, man.
Yes.
We had the hip hop beats there, and it was just so much, man, that was fun with hip hop back in the days, because we were creating a lane that wasn't based on New York's lane. As far as it wasn't trying to compete with New York, it was just, hey, we can ride this road too.
Yeah.
And then you look up and you see like Chief Keef and G Herbo and Dirk, and I saw G Herbo give an interview recently in which he said that during COVID he realized that his biggest regret in hip hop was not reaching back for the guys in Chicago that did it before them.
Whoa.
Yeah, he said that they need to acknowledge that guys existed before them, because a lot of people thinking that they the first hip hoppers in Chicago.
Yeah.
But I would give them their props. They the most successful. I'm not hating on them, but I just know that it's more than twisting in Chicago hip hop history.
It's a foundation that they're standing on.
You got guys like Sinister Death and
Oh wow.
Aztec, Triple C's. You had the God Squad.
Oh yeah.
You had D to the S.
Yes.
You had the DVS Boys. You got Apple. You got all these female rappers. Apple. Special K, Kim. I mean, that's a whole bunch of rappers. I don't know everybody's name. I ain't gonna perpetrate, but it was so many rappers
that built this.
And you had guys like Villain and Rhythm. A lot of people don't know Rhythm taught No ID how to produce.
Yeah,
and that speeded up style that Kanye ran with, Rhythm was doing that in the 80s.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, when real talk, I got it in my phone. When No ID got nominated for the Grammy for the 440 album, he went to Twitter and he thanked Rhythm. He said,
okay.
He said, I want to thank Sean Rhythm Ross for giving me my first SP12 and teaching me how to use it.
Okay.
Of course, he deleted it after he didn't win, but he put it up there and I recorded it for posterity in my phone.
Okay.
Because I wanted Rhythm to see that, like, man, dude, you got an impact in this game. You know what I'm saying? This is a dude, who we don't give a shout out to in hip hop? We don't give a shout out to the parents, the mothers and the fathers that let us use their houses for musical purposes.
Yeah.
Having strangers in their house practicing, learning this skill.
Letting us use their equipment.
Right. The old turntable in the corner that we took apart and put on top of a crate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We blew this speaker out and that speaker.
Yeah.
And your mama and them used to go up in their rooms and they would watch their TV or whatever, and you got the whole basement of the downstairs and you got 20 people down there, you making beats.
Making beats and rapping and putting this all together, so definitely, we do forget that.
Rhythm's mother on Miss Ross on 74th and Ada, man. That was my baby. I love Miss Ross. And she opened up her basement. Rhythm had everybody down there. You understand what I'm saying? Most guys from back in them days, somebody sooner or later took them to that basement.
Yeah.
Then you had my mother, and you had Turk's mother, and various other mothers in the city that, when you went up to somebody's house, like you went to their house and did it.
Yeah, because I remember going to my man Reggie Vader from East of the Rock.
Right.
Going down into the basement and his mother upstairs and downstairs the music banging. He had cats down there. He had Extreme from the Figure. You had the Figure.
Yeah, okay.
Big Stu. All these cats,
You thought out some names, bro.
Yeah, and these are our peers. So yeah, when we say our peers, move up into these other positions, it's love. And like you say, G Herbo said his regret is not reaching back. And so it has to be that backwards and forward, reaching and pulling each other back and forth. Reaching back. Come on, I got you. You know, and so these people can understand that it is a foundation that's been laid.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know about everybody else, but when I see Dirk and them, the only problem I have with the current crop of Chicago hip hop is they weren't allowed to stay in Chicago and nurture it.
Mm-hmm.
They had to go to different cities. But it's like that with Kanye. Kanye had to go to New York to get his recognition, and Common had to go get his recognition. It's like, dude, y'all got gems and diamonds right in y'all public in the midst, and y'all let other stuff distract from the greatness that we got great ground here, but we don't let the tree grow.